Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Ada, and I am an Ayurvedic holistic lifestyle coach, as well as the founder of the Sacred Movement School. I wanted to come on here today to talk a little bit about the season that we're transitioning into. According to Ayurveda, which is yoga sister science and a natural system of healing, the summertime is prominently governed by Pitta dosha. Pitta dosha is a dosha that is a governing force combined of the elements of fire and water. This means that the summer season and everything that is revolving around Pitta dosha will carry with it a lot of intensity, a lot of heat, a lot of sharpness. And how this shows up in the physical body as well as in our psychology is that Pitta prominent people or Pitta prominent activities will result in excess of heat, irritation, inflammation. It can be that competitive mindset that we carry. It could be a lot of ego-centered activities. And so that competitive nature is actually very common in Pitta people. And as we move into a season that enhances and increases the same dosha, we can begin to experience imbalance in our own nature. And so I wanted to hop on here to talk a little bit about competitive nature and what that means and how we can actually start to think about it in ways that we can balance it and let it go. So every time that we compete with others, we are already losing because we're forgetting that life is not really a race to be won, but actually life is a journey we embark on to build inner peace and wisdom. We create non-existent competitions in our minds when we get carried away by the delusions of our own ego. The hierarchical conditioning of society combined with our attachments to I, me, and mine creates a scenario where success is only for a few. Having a world that it's built on competition has created a situation where humanity is actually overflowing with misery. We thought we had to win, to harm each other to survive. But the moment we submitted ourselves to the scenario, we took a step away from our individual and collective freedom. Now, releasing these conditioned habits is difficult, but it is essential because happiness and internal security grow as we release the I from ego and as we release the delusion of competition. The vision of love shows us that individual and collective life need to be reborn and reorganized in a way that supports the well-being of all, not just a few. Love teaches us that we're not here to compete, but to support each other's growth and happiness. And so some of the practices that we can actually lean into a little bit more through the season in order to find that space for more love, find that expansive nature of the heart space, rather than the ego-centered, selfish nature of I, is leaning into a practice of gratitude, checking in with yourself each day and actually asking yourself, what am I grateful for today? What makes my soul feel ignited? What makes me feel blessed? These are questions that you can ask yourself and then maybe take a moment to journal upon them, or sit in meditation and deeply ask yourself these questions and allow your heart to reveal the answers. So it's really about letting go of so much of the head space and dropping back into the heart space. Another practice that we can begin to invite ourselves into is allowing ourselves to feel compassion and choose compassion before I enter the activities of every day. As a Pitta dominant person, compassion is not so easy when it comes to myself. It's easy for me to look at the world and say, I will look at you with the eyes of compassion. But as I bring the spotlight into myself, I rarely can step into that compassionate ground with ease. And so allowing yourself to check in And in the very morning time, say, today I choose to be compassionate. So creating a sankalpa, a mantra, a short positive phrase that can actually be repeated throughout the day, or I can come back to when there's an opportunity that is asking and inviting my compassion. And then in the grounds of creating a sankalpa is a short positive phrase that I can come back to that will begin to color my consciousness. And as I color my consciousness, that I'm using my willpower to reject all the desires that will inevitably come and constantly change. The impulses and the reactions that are based on trauma triggers that come as I'm presented with a situation that reminds me of something from my past. Sankalpa is a powerful practice that I can actually create each day in order to convince myself that there is something that can help me reach my highest nature, that I am actually beyond my stories and my trauma triggers and my trauma responses. That rather than getting angry, frustrated, irritated, envious, or even to that point, aggressive, I can lean into my sankalpa. And a great sankalpa to cultivate for this Pitta season, especially for Pitta prominent people, is today I choose compassion for myself and others. Today I choose compassion for myself and others. Creating a sankalpa is quite easy. Now returning to that sankalpa is a different story. And so really the practice is remembering your sankalpa and coming back to your sankalpa whenever you need it. I hope that this can be helpful. And I pray that you find ease, love, and compassion throughout this Pitta summer season. Much love. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.